What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from Gobundance. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber. And today I interviewed a guy that we just jammed for like 20 minutes after we stopped recording. This guy's cool. Dr. Jeff Anzalone. He's known better as the Debt-Free Doctor, debtfreedr.com. And in fact, should be in the show notes. But if you go to debtfreedr.com/free guide, he has a whole free handout that you can get around being debt free. But Jeff's a dentist, actually an orthopedic or orthodontic surgeon, something like that. He's in the teeth industry. He raises capital. He's a GPN and LP on multiple deals. He's got connections to guys like Grant Cardone, Patrick Bet-David. I mean, he's just a guy that's out there doing really, really cool stuff. And we talk about his relationship with Cardone. We talk about his upbringing, how he became so systematized, a traumatic injury he had in his youth and how that drove him to where he is today. And even a guy he knows that can help him bury a body if he needed to. That's real. Wait till you hear this stuff. So check out Dr. Anzalone. This guy, man, I'm buzzing right now because I just finished recording with him and just finished chit-chatting about some things we're doing in similar spaces. You're going to enjoy this interview. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on it. Let us know what you think. Check out his YouTube channel as well, Debt-Free DR. And yeah, let's all grow together, I guess, right? Enjoy this interview, and I'll see you on the next one. Here, Dr. Jeff Anzalone, welcome, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, he's even in scrubs, man. He's doing the whole thing. Got the whole doctor look going. It's awesome. It's awesome. So let's start with your backstory. You know, where you're from, how'd you come to be a doctor, and then how about this blog? Kind of take us through the iterations of your life, if you would, please.
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana, born and raised, practice here, and I had several family members and friends of mine that their dads were physicians, dentists, that sort of thing. So I was exposed to it, early on. The day before I turned 7, you always hear, "Don't play with fire." Well, my friend and I didn't take that advice, and we went to a backyard, started a little fire, and he saw this red container. We didn't really know much about it, and had liquid in it. And he said, "Well, let's pour it on there." So when he poured it on there, it flamed up and literally just singed my entire left leg and a little bit of my right leg. And I still remember, and I had, I don't know if you remember, Jamie, those, I had a football jersey on, and I was 7, and it was one of those mesh, jerseys with the number on it. And it had actually singed like half of it up, like, towards my stomach. And I remember crying, riding home on my bike and, looking down, and just my whole legs were just completely just blistered, just bubbled and blistered. And, now that I have kids, I couldn't imagine what my parents went through, going through that. And, your kid shows up and he's got these 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his legs. And so, long story short, I had to go through a lot of surgeries, pediatrician, plastic surgeons, had to learn how to walk again because I was in the hospital so long. But you would think that would have scared me away from the healthcare profession, but it actually drew me closer to it to see how helpful those people were. So that really started me on my path towards, wanting to go into the medical field. And once I did that and, went through, I decided to be a dentist and a dental specialist, a periodontist, where we do more oral surgery procedures. But I didn't realize how much debt you acquire when you go through that. And I had, about $300,000. But I've been talking to a group here about joining their practice while I was in my residency. And about 2 weeks before I finished, I got a call from them basically saying the deal was off. So we had a 2-month-old, $300,000 student loan debt. I'd already bought a home here with an interest-only loan. And this was before the '08 crash. So my buddy's dad was a banker. He's like, "I know those guys you're going in with. We'll get you the house. We'll worry about the payment later." I'm like, okay. So anyway, but the worst part about it was they don't teach you how to run a business, run a practice, nothing. So I'm like, what do I do? Yeah. I'm a man of faith, so I prayed a lot. And literally the next day, this guy calls me who's another dental specialist, didn't know who it was. He's like, look, I heard about kind of what's going on, and the same thing happened to me. He's like, I can help you out. I can let you rent space from me and kind of help you get on your feet. So we did that. And for 2 years I did that. But along the way, just to make ends meet, I had to go back to doing what I used to do in high school and college, and that was mow yards. So I was the most qualified yard guy in the country, the most educated. I remember knocking on a door in this lady's yard I used to mow, and it said, hey, how you doing? I'm back in town. I said, you need your yard mowed this summer? She said, son, aren't you supposed to be a doctor by now? I said, yes, ma'am, I am, but I'm broke. So mowed her yard. But, you got to do what you got to do. Humbling experience. So practice picked up, bought the building that I'm in now. Everything's going well. We go snow skiing, get off the lift, have a little accident. I fall, and I instinctively land on my hands and I hurt my wrist. Nothing permanent, but I thought to myself, what if it had been? What, how would I support my family? Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I realized that if these hands aren't working, then no money's coming in, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what to do, but I knew something had to be done. And I started researching it, and I knew that I wanted other streams of income, but I did not want to get another job, work weekends, start another practice, blah, blah, blah. Because I have kids and all that. And while I was researching, I found 2 facts to stand out. Number one, majority of the millionaires, 90% of the millionaires or more have real estate in their portfolio. At that time, I had 0. Fact number 2, millionaires have an average of 7 streams of income. At that time, I had 1. So that told me that I needed to look into real estate and to acquire real, income. And that was a very rocky road. I won't go through all the details, but fast forward to today, I found the passive real estate route because, as a busy guy, I didn't want to deal with tenants. Found syndications, or were able to network with some groups. But along the way, I started teaching people. I taught myself how to do a blog, and if a redneck from Louisiana can do it, anybody can do it. So literally, I knew how to go and turn the power on the computer, go to the internet, and that was it. And started the blog, and as I was learning things about real estate, I would write an article. Yeah. And then as I started growing, people started reaching out to me and asking me questions like, oh, that's a pretty good idea, topic for a blog. I'll write about that. And then just about 6 months ago, I started a YouTube channel, which I really like. And that's helped me really to connect with people, because, you connect with people when you can see them. People can see that I have hair and you don't, you can't see that on audio, right? So
right. There you go. The Dr. Evil look. I love it. A couple things I want to dive into, and then we're going to talk about some pretty cool topics like the blog, which is really good. The book reviews, all of the stuff you do on there is really cool. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Grant Cardone. We'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff. But go back for a second to 2 things. First, the burned legs. You say singed. It's funny. I think of singed, that term. Maybe it's a north-south thing. Like, that's like, yeah, my eyebrows came up, but this wasn't singed. You got full on burned. Like, your legs were blistered up, like you said, hospitalized for months. We all have traumas in our life, right? Like, that's a very obvious trauma. Like, other traumas might be something my mother said to me or my father hit me or whatever, right? Like, all of that stuff are traumas in our life, and they shape us for the future, our adult lives. Obviously, one piece of that is you got closer to the medical profession and you're in there now. But I mean, that experience, months long. I mean, we got the 18-second overview of a big period of your life and your family's life and everything. How does that show up in your life today? Going through that experience, that injury, maybe as a parent, I don't know. Like, where does that show up, the trauma from that, if anywhere, that you can point to? Is there anything that jumps out at you?
Well, I do know that for, I think, the first 2 weeks, they had to take me once a week to the pediatrician, and they had to hold me down and scrub my legs with peroxide. And when I tell you pain, so it took a while, because anytime I would smell that, it would, boom, it would just bring that back. So that's been tough, but it's been really easy to keep my kids away from fire and firework, and all that, and showing them, hey, if you play with fire, this is what happens.
Yeah. So
that's really helped with instructing my kids as they've gotten older,
Wow. Yeah, man, I can imagine. I can't imagine what that unleashes from a fear perspective. Later on, you're a doctor, and again, you glanced by this, and I love it. It was humbling to go mow lawns. Can you, what was that like, walking up to that first door? I mean, was it just like, got to do what I got to do? Like, do you have that? Is that your way of being, like, where you just, that ego is not there? Or you just kind of walk me through that time in your life, what that taught you, what that was truly like for you? Was that the most like mortifying, I just became a doctor? Or was it like, hey, it is what it is, I got to go mow some lawns? I'm kind of curious how you dealt with that.
I guess it didn't really matter that much, because I was still in the student mentality. I hadn't gotten out. I wasn't making money. But I will tell you that whole process, I went from sort of an abundance type mentality, because, yeah, I had student loan debt, but you're always like, well, when I graduate, it's not really going to matter, because when I graduate, I'm going to make decent income, right? Kind of like if you had a lot of debt and you were in college and you knew you were going to go to the pros. I'm like, I don't make that kind of money, but, kind of like, who cares about student loan, But when that happened, and it went from like, okay, you have no way of paying that back, I went from an abundant to a scarcity mindset like that. And it brought about extreme fear of things being taken away. And it took me a long time to get over that. So I was in that fear mode, that survival mode. So I didn't care. I would have done whatever. I'd never had any issues or thoughts or fear of money until that point in my life. And I was about 20. I was about close to 30 years old, I guess.
Wow. Are you in an abundance mindset, or does scarcity drive you? I think about the wrist. When you hurt your wrist, it wasn't bad, and that kind of fueled the debt-free, passive income streams, and then the blog and everything like that. Like, has scarcity served you?
I think it drove me to really accelerate, getting out of debt and accomplishing a lot of things. Whereas before, I would have been more lax, maybe, kind of like, hey, you're making 200 grand and 300 grand, and most people are spending 200 grand and 300 grand. It was like, you're making 200 grand, 300 grand, you're spending like 40 or 50. I mean, you're not spending, and everything's going towards getting out of that situation, Yeah. So I think it served me in that way.
How have you converted back then to abundance? Is it simply by getting out of the debt? Well, like, once you did that, was it a matter of like, okay, I can feel momentum now, or is it more of some work you've done mindset wise to get there?
Definitely mindset wise. I'm have a stronger faith now, for sure. And really, after the pandemic, going through that, the practice being shut down for 2 months. I talked to a guy today, there's a dentist in Minnesota. He was shut down for 3 months. And, when you go from making good money to, nothing coming in for a couple months, but then you see everything's, but having that faith, having that abundance mindset, things happen for a reason, things take care of themselves. And that, I look at situations a lot differently now. So for instance, if, somebody cuts out in front of me or whatever in the truck, and, the old Jeff would maybe honk the horn, say a few choice words. Now, and you have a choice. You can do that, or you can go, thankfully that person didn't, we didn't have a wreck. Nobody was hurt. Hopefully it doesn't hurt somebody. If he does, maybe I'll go kill him then. But, that's just a way that you can kind of think,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I try in my best, like, especially when I lived in Boston, those drivers are nuts, man. I tried my best to always be like, his mother might be dying right now, or, something like, what's the reason? Like, it's not just, what a jackass or whatever, but like, there could be a story behind that. It calms me down at least, because otherwise I'm, that Dr. Evil road rage kind of pops up in me. So
it's a good thing to pass to your kids too, especially, they're playing sports right now, and that, they lose a tennis match or a football game or whatever, and they're thinking one thing, but you can instruct them another way, Oh, I sucked today, or I didn't throw the football as well, or this or that, or, okay, well, what did you do right? Let's focus on that. So it's a different way that you could pass along to your kids too.
This book right here I'm holding, The Gap and the Gain, right? Focus on the gain, not the gap. That whole thing, I completely agree with it. Shout out to Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. So let's talk about investing in you and this abundance mindset. Now, you joined Gobundance, obviously. Oh, look at that. Who, not how, he's got up on the screen. That's up there somewhere on my shelf. But yeah, big fan of these guys. I met Ben Hardy with Bob Castellini, who was another Gobundance member. He hosted me at a Reds game, and Ben Hardy was the other guest. And he's been my favorite writer. So it was like a coup to meet Ben Hardy, and also a guy named JD Vance, which was pretty cool. Where was I going? Sorry, my mind just went down a rabbit hole. Oh, investing in you. So you joined Gobundance, but you've got a hell of a coach right now as well, Uncle G, right? Grant Cardone. Talk to me about that. Like, why? And what does that look like? Like, what is the, I know you just recently did, so maybe you haven't had a lot of time with him yet, but like, what's the value that you're getting, if any, or what do you anticipate? Just give me kind of like the decision tree, and also how that's been so far.
Well, it was just kind of a one-time thing, but I can continue it if I want to. But, to me, it's like, you could try to, if you want something, if you want to accomplish something, well, if you got all the time in the world, then, you could do it like that, kind of learn on your own, kind of like the book, Who, Not How. That's a perfect example right now. If you know where you want to go, well, you can figure out, it may take you 5 years of how to get there. Books, podcasts, this, that, maybe hiring a coach or two, or just find a who to get you there in light speed. And think about, if you know anything about the time value of money, of what your time's worth, your time is invaluable, So I knew that, going to somebody like him, or, other people that I aspire to get to, that know a lot about real estate or know a lot about passive income, could help me get there. And he certainly helped me be he helped provide the catalyst to get me to the goals I'm trying to accomplish.
Interesting. Well, can you give me an example or two? Like, was it something he said, something he did, something you observed? Was there anything like, this is my key takeaway from the experience with him?
Absolutely. So, tell me what you want. I'm like, I'm 47. I want to get out of practice in 5 years or less, focus on the real estate business, the blog, YouTube channel, and some other things. And I was kind of all over the place, Then he started asking me, well, how many people come to your blog? How many people on your email list? How many, I have what's called a passive investor circle. So basically all I do is, when I invest in a deal, I send it out to these people and they can invest alongside of me. I said, and I've grown it. I've got about 1,000 people on that list. And he asked me some other questions. He said, well, he's the 10X guy, right? So he's like, well, Jeff, you're thinking about getting out of practice and you think about this and that. He said, all you have to do is 10X your passive investor circle list. So what would your life be like if, instead of you having 1,000 investors, you have 10,000? He said, all your problems would go away. He said, you'd have more capital coming in. You'd have more people investing, with you and this and that. I said, you're right. I was trying to do it the hard way, but he's like, now everything that you do go to increasing that. So he helped really narrow my focus, to do that.
Love it, man. That's amazing. I love that. Like you said, I love the idea. And I've come around to this in the last 4 or 5 years as well. This idea of hiring it. A quick example for me is my brand, my personal brand. We've talked about branding because you've got a great one with Debt Free DR. But trying to build my personal brand more. And to your point, like, the highest and best use of me, I feel, is with a robust and affinity-based personal brand. I love it. I enjoy this. I think about this podcast more than I should, like guests coming on, what I'm going to ask, all that stuff. I love the personal branding stuff. So I invested with a guy named Brendan Kane, to be my personal brand strategist, because he's built the brands of Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Katie Couric. Like, why not go to the best? You did that. Why not go to the best? You went to Grant Cardone. You know, people I know debate like whether they like him or not, but you cannot deny his results. So you went to the guy with the results, and just that conversation narrowing you in will shorten the timeline for you to do exactly what you want to do. I love that, man. That's amazing.
And we also kind of talked about, he's starting to go into different niches, maybe like attorneys or first responders. And he showed me they just bought this 7 or 8 story building behind his building now that they're going into. I think they're tripling the amount of space for education. And he wanted to talk about possibly coming in, hosting doctors there, teaching them. He's kind of like, wants to do kind of like what Dave Ramsey's doing now, where he's sort of backing himself out of being on the show all the time, other people coming in. So he wanted to talk a little bit more about possibly doing that in the future. So that's a cool door that could possibly lead somewhere. Will it for sure? I don't know, but hey, it would have never even been the possibility if I hadn't met with him,
Yep. What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie. I'm jumping in real quick here because some people are listening to this podcast thinking, man, I hear this guest, I hear what they're talking about. This whole Gobundance thing sounds pretty cool. I'd love to be a part of that. And I would say to you, if you are qualified to be part of Gobundance, you're a millionaire or accredited at the very least, jump onto Gobundance.com and just put your application in. You'll get on a call. It might even be with me, where we can talk about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and what it is to be part of this community in depth. Would love to have a conversation with you about that. It's been just so life-changing for me. And for those of you out there that are saying, yeah, sounds great, I would if I were a millionaire or if I were accredited, but I'm not there yet. We've got that now. We've built a program and I run it. I love being a part of it. I left my job for it, called Emerge and Ascend. Emerge is where you got to start. It's a 12-week intensive sprint goal-setting course. You're going to get curriculum every week. You're going to get live intervention every week. You're going to get connection with Gobundance members every week. You're going to get accountability from like-minded people every week. Jump into that, kill it, and we invite you to Ascend, which is essentially the Gobundance Mastermind without the $1 million requirement. And we actually even add in coaching to help folks find their purpose, their mission, their values. It's intense. It's everything all wrapped in one. So again, if you're a millionaire or you're at least accredited and you're wondering about this Gobundance thing and that shouldn't I, just apply. Throw your name in. You lose nothing. All you do is put your name into an application form, you get on a phone call, and then you decide. If you're not yet at that $1 million mark, look at Emerge, Gobundance.com/emerge. And what you can do as well is drop my name in there, Jamie, Jamie, and we'll knock $200 off the tuition for Emerge. Jump in there and we'll get you started on your journey toward being a whole life millionaire, toward getting to Gobundance, whatever you want. People in Emerge, people in Ascend, people in Gobundance all report back often the changes it's made in their lives financially, relationally, and everywhere else. So go to Gobundance.com, check all of that out. See wherever you are, dive into that particular area of Gobundance, and we'd love to see you inside of the tribe. Now, back to our show. There's momentum there. There's momentum there for sure. We'll all say, well, we'll look back at this episode and be like, oh, you had Anzalone on? Holy crap, right? So I love it. Let's talk about Debt Free DR. So you mentioned it's a blog. That's the website, debtfreedr.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You mentioned it's a blog. You've got some other stuff on there. Give us an overview of general. Like you said, you're teaching people what you've learned about real estate. What else is on the blog? What else is on the website? Just kind of give us an overview of that, if you would, please.
It's basically it's not 100% about real estate. It's about it starts with a mindset shift to the way you think about it. And I think if you could go all the way back, to somebody that's in college or like medical school, dental school, law school, whatever. And when you're getting out and you're getting ready to go in the workforce, we're more focused about how much money we're going to make. I'm going to make 100,000 over here. Well, if I go over here, I'm going to make 175, or I'm going to make 300,000. Or if you've been working for a while and you have a job offer. So we're so focused on that. And I told somebody yesterday, one of my kids' friends, because he was talking about, wanted to do this or that. Yeah, I can make a lot of money doing this or that. I said, well, let me tell you something. I don't care what you do, but always think about, instead of how much money you're going to make, think about how you make money, not how much you're going to make. And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, how, what, that job, you have to be there, right? Right. Well, what if you're not there? Well, I guess I wouldn't make any money. I said, exactly. So think about the process. I don't have the answers for you. You got to figure that out. So I start there because, you know, like I said, I had a call this morning from the dentist, 33-year-old dentist in Minnesota. And he, you know, I think he heard me on a podcast or YouTube channel or something. He was like, the light bulb went on. He's like, I've only been practicing since 2016, but he's like, I can't keep up this pace, you know, for next 20 or 30 years. When I had mentioned that, you know, how he's making money, because if he's not there scraping on teeth, you know, he's not getting paid. So that kind of started the process. So that's the first thing that I try to do is get people sort of the Robert Kiyosaki mindset shift, the cash flow quadrant, getting them from the left side, the poor side, to the right side, you know, from the employee to self-employed over to the right side, the business owner or investor, where their money's working for them.
I love that. So yeah, the momentum of passive income, building those 7 streams or more, that's what millionaires have. What is your coaching or your teaching or your thoughts on debt? And I'll be a little more specific. What is debt for you? I mean, we're talking like pay the mortgage off. Do you advocate that? Is it, you know, any and all debt, Dave Ramsey style? Like, just give me your thoughts on, I get medical school debt or school debt, college debt is obviously, you know, crippling for a lot of people, but just generally speaking, what's your thoughts, teachings, whatever on debt?
Well, it's changed since I started the blog, because I was a big Dave Ramsey follower, get out of debt, including the house, everything. But once I got to that point, it was like, okay, now what? You know, but it also depends on the person. You know, if you're reckless with finances, or, you know, or if you're diligent in it, there's going to be 2 different, you know, recommendations for those types of people. I think, you know, for me, you know, and I was talking to the guy this morning. I said, look, you know, consumer debt, student loan debt, credit card debt, all that, you know, do what you can to get rid of that, you know, yep. High interest debt. But I wouldn't have rushed to pay off the house had I known, you know, what I know now, you know, that you could, you know, if I can get a 2 or 3% loan, but if I can get 8, 10, 12% over here, well, I'm better off. You know, I make enough money where I can do both, pay a little more on the house, but also invest and, you know, take the interest, whatever. But if you're not going to do that, if you got an extra $2,000-3,000 a month, and if you're not going to put it on the house, but you're still not going to, you know, so if you go, well, I'm not going to pay off my house faster. Let's say I got $3,000 a month extra. And if you're not going to pay down, all you have left is your house. If you're not going to pay off on your house, then I recommend that, you know, that you invest it. But if you're not going to invest it, well, then you're better off paying off your house first instead of just going and blow it, you know? So it just kind of depends on the situation.
No, I like that. It's funny. I think a lot of us start with Ramsey and end with Kiyosaki, right? There's some sort of sense of,
I'm kind of in not the middle, I'm more towards Kiyosaki, but before I was totally to the left, you know, Dave Ramsey thinking, which again, it's not it depends on your risk tolerance too. You know, it's called personal finance for a reason. It's personal.
I like that. It's called personal finance for a reason. That's awesome. All right, cool. Let's dive over and do some one sheet questions, and then we'll wrap this up with where folks can learn more about you. So let's start with horizontal income, that pillar. What currently is your horizontal income, and how many lines? You said 7 was what you wanted. How many lines do you have now?
Right now, I'm in 8 syndications, and I've got one that is in the process of being sold. So that once it's sold, I just go back and I just reinvest into another one. So gotcha. And I have another one coming up the first of the year. So that will still be 8 at that time.
Gotcha.
Eight income streams from them, those plus the practice. That would be 9.
All right. And then are you on the general partnership side of anything, or no? Or is it all limited for you?
I'm a co-GP on 6 of those. So 2 of those I'm a limited partner, but the other ones I'm a co-GP.
Gotcha. Very cool. That's just like helping with capital raising. I'm assuming they gave you a slice of the GP to do so.
Yeah, and I do some investor relations too. So they take some articles I have, I'll do phone calls, answer questions, those sorts of things too, which are actually going to be expanding that now that travel has opened up more. So they want to do more in person in 2022.
Yep.
So we'll be doing more of that, maybe one or two live events as well. Nice. So that's another thing that I'll be doing as well.
Love it, man. Starting to build that brand. I love that. All right. What about from a health perspective? What's the diet and exercise routine look like for the debt-free doctor?
I'm trying to think My Pal app or something like that, where I track my macros. Yep. I really shoot for about 200 grams of protein a day. So I'm real pretty diligent on that, working out about 4 or 5 days a week, real active with tennis, doing stuff with kids, we do a lot of long walks with my wife, that sort of thing. So I'm doing something 6-7 days a week. So I'm real conscious about that, go to my buddy's a family physician, go there every January, get the full workup. So, because what's the point of having all the money in the world if you don't have your health and can't get out of bed, so that's, and when I started my practice, I made it a point. I only wanted to work 4 days a week. I wanted to work till about 3:30, and then I have time to go to the gym an hour or two, then get home at a decent time where I could go do stuff with kids. I've been doing that for 16, 17 years now.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's discipline, man. It's got to be hard to not sneak into, wow, I can just go another hour or that fifth day, And
I can't tell you how many people that are my age that I graduated high school with that live here, and they look so much older. They're so much heavier. They're unhealthy. And it is. And I'm blessed to be in a position where I could do that, where I could set my own hours, where other people, they can't.
Yeah. Amazing. The protein, what is it? What does that look like? Bunch of red meat, eggs? What are you doing for 200 grams of protein a day?
I follow this guy on, I'll have to remember what his name is. I'll get it to you, but he's I think he's like a college kid or whatever. He has these great recipes. And I get a lot from him, and I love breakfast stuff. He has like this anabolic French toast and high protein pancakes. So I get a lot from eggs and a lot of egg whites, lean meat, chicken, fish, a lot of chicken. I love bacon, so a lot of grilled chicken salad with a little bacon on it. So
who doesn't love bacon?
Yeah, who doesn't love bacon?
Who doesn't love bacon, right? That's great. How about family? Talk to me a little bit about wife, kids. What's that look like?
Yeah, married. She's actually my hygienist. Met her in dental school, and she's from Louisiana as well. Have 2 kids. 16-year-old. He is currently a quarterback of his high school team. So in the middle of starting playoffs tonight, so he's excited about that. He plays tennis as well, and my 14-year-old loves tennis, so he's real focused on that. Both of them straight A students, so they're smart like their mom. Glad they didn't get their dad's brains, but yeah, it's they keep us busy, keep us hopping, but love it.
That's cool. That's cool. 2 boys. Same here. I'm about a decade behind on both, 6 and 3. So
fun years. Enjoy it.
Yeah, they are fun. Yeah, fun. Sometimes frustrating, but fun. Overall, you're right. They're fun. How about contribution? What do you typically contribute to, or how much do you contribute a year? However you want to take that question.
We do I think it's a weekly automatic withdrawal from our account that goes to our church. And then this year, my buddy that goes to our church, he was a high school football coach. He just left the coaching and decided to I guess head up the local Fellowship of Christian Athletes chapter here, FCA. And he asked me to be a board member, and I did, and made a contribution to that. And also we make a monthly contribution to that. So that's where a lot of our stuff is focused, plus the United Way in our area does a lot for the local area. So the church, FCA, and United Way is a big focus on that. We give a lot, my 16-year-old goes to a public high school, and we help out whenever we can with people, and I hate this. I look back and sometimes you make fun of kids, when you're in high school or junior high, and I remember this, and I hate that I did this, but not knowing that, we would make fun of kids 7th grade or 8th grade. You smell, or you don't look at the clothes you're wearing and stuff, and you're a stupid kid. But now it's like some of these kids don't have water. Some of these kids, they eat at school. That's if they don't get breakfast and lunch, they're not eating at home. And so anytime I can help out with that, or, helping out feeding some of the football team or whatever, now that I know what, it's not them, it's the situation they're brought up in, and really bringing that a point to my kids to let them know as well. We help out at Christmas time. We'll usually adopt a family, Thanksgiving, go to the local area here and hand out food, help prepare food at Christmas. So really want my kids to get involved with what's going on in the world. And it's not always, what is it, sunshine and rainbows, it's real life.
Yeah. No,
and to be a giver.
Yeah, 100%. That's so true. You think about that, right? Like going back to those years, like kids razz each other about this, that, or the other, something they do or don't, how they dress, how they look, how they smell, all that stuff. But man, when you with the benefit of age, you see behind the curtain, and it's really, really sad. So amazing that you're
probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and this still sticks with my kids. We adopted a family and took them Thanksgiving dinner. I'll never forget this. We're going down the road, and then we're looking at the address, and it's like we didn't even know there's a gravel road off of this road, but we go back in there, and there's, the shotgun house, the door's wide open, 7, 8 kids. We're bringing this food up, and they stop, like thinking the president's coming in, going, who are these people? And we look in, no water. Their den is just mattresses on the floor, no electricity, nothing. And that image really stuck with my kids. And they told their friends they didn't even have water, they didn't have a TV, and it was just like we brought them $1 million.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that for people, and then if you can afford it or whatever, and even if you can't afford it, you can give your time. So I'm really trying to instill that in my kids, and hopefully they'll take that with them.
Yeah, no doubt. That's it's funny, little things like we try to teach our kids gratitude, but even like, hey, you see, I just turned the water on, be thankful for that, right? You flick your wrist and there's hot water, just like that. Like not everybody has that, and it is at 6 years old. It's like okay, I guess, but as they age, I'm sure they'll get that as we go along. Hey, real quick aside, as we've been talking, I've been thinking about your story in general. And the word that's coming to mind for me is like systematized. Is that a fair word? Would you describe yourself as like a systematized kind of guy?
Probably so, or that, or discipline, real discipline. But yes, I guess systematized.
I just think of, you have a schedule for work that's atypical, right? Like most people don't schedule themselves 4 days and only till 3:30 and all of that stuff. And easily, I know me, I would creep past that. I would have an excuse like no big deal this day, no big deal after 3 this day, or whatever the case may be. And then you talk about how you're donating, like you find these different places to donate charity wise, and you have a monthly kind of system set up. So yeah, I don't know. Just if that resonates with you, like how did you? Is that just how you've been, or is this something that you learned at some point to create for yourself? Maybe in getting out of debt. I don't know. Where did that come from? This sort of systematized mindset.
I think I have a funny story that just popped into my head. When I was a resident at the VA hospital in Biloxi, Mississippi, in 2000, that was 21 years ago. There was another dentist there. There's nothing to do in Biloxi but go to the casinos. And that was our funds. So we would, maybe every other week we would go with $100. I would put in 50. He would put in 50. We'd go play blackjack or play the slots or go eat or whatever. When that money's up, it's over with. So it's like our entertainment money. So one time when we went, I'll never forget this. We were playing blackjack. I was playing blackjack, and it was, I don't know how it is now, but they had the chips, and when you're playing blackjack, you line them up in front of you. So I start winning, and I like get on a roll. and as I'm winning more and winning more and putting the chips in front of me, everybody's hooping and hollering, and I guess I wasn't really paying attention. But when I kind of looked down, really my chips weren't growing like they should. So when you talked about Systematize, he had a system that he was keeping me grounded to, like, as I was winning, he was standing beside me, taking those extra chips and putting them in a bucket to where even if I lost all that money, I still had some, still had some put back. So, and we talked about that a lot at that time, and we still do. But I think that was kind of maybe the first time in my life that hey, putting together systems or having something will keep you on the right track and not make you really fall flat on your face. So that was the first thing that came in my mind when you said that.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. It's been becoming more and more prevalent for me as I've left my job, and I've got all these different irons in the fire, and it's like, all right, who, not how, and how do I build systems around this so that I just have to show up where I need to be, not do all of the other work around it. So, just a curious question. Well, this is great. Let's end this with a question. I like this question from the Gobundance card game. Good old Ace of Hearts here. Here it goes. Who would you call if you had to dispose of a body? I'm going to go Pat Hyman and came up with these. That's the only guy I could think of. So who would you call if you had to dispose of a body?
Well, it's a local guy that I have here that I'm not going to say names.
You should. If he's the dispose of a body guy, you shouldn't say his name.
He doesn't do it. He wouldn't do it, but he knows a guy that would do it. And the reason I say that is occasionally these buildings would just catch on fire around here.
Yeah. And
you're thinking, well, why does that happen? Well, they get more money, insurance money, than it's worth. So he's the guy.
Gotcha. So the guy that knows the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have that quick a connection I could make, two degrees of separation. So
I have his cell number too, if you need it.
You're scaring me a little bit now. The stuff that happens in Louisiana. This is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome stuff. Where can people, we talked about Debt-Free DR. Is that where you want to direct folks? You have the YouTube channel. Lay it all on us. Where should we find you?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. You go to debtfreedr.com. There's if you go to debtfreedr.com/free guide, I have a passive income guide that people want to get started learning a little bit about how putting together horizontal income can change your life. They can download that, and then the link to the YouTube channel is right there on the homepage too.
Love it. debtfreedr.com/free guide. We'll drop that in the show notes so everybody can get access to that. And look forward to continuing to watch you grow. And am I going to see you in Park City? I can't recall.
Possibly. We're actually going to skiing a couple of weeks before that. So you
told me that. That's right.
Our kids said we hadn't been skiing in a couple of years together. Usually they go on the youth church trip, but they're not having it this year for whatever. So we said, hey, let's go.
Nice. Where are you going to go for skiing?
We go to Beaver Creek most of the time.
Gotcha. No good skiing in Louisiana. No mountain peaks with snow.
Sometimes every 3 years when it sleets, we all go to the levee. We slide down on our stomach. So
sort of like it. Sort of
like that.
Like tubing. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks, Jeff, for being on. And we'll connect soon.
Sounds great.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know down in the comments, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be informed on the next episode and other content right here on this channel. Thank you.